Hey, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. I've got a few things to get to. First, we have some pictures. We also have some news. I'm not sure if you saw it today, but Land Rover Jaguar have decided that by 2025, already 2021, all Jaguar cars will be electric. Now, it sounds like such a grand statement, but there are not that many successful Jags that they sell. And what they've decided to do is continue to make internal combustion engines over on the Land Rover Range Rover side. Now, you think about this for a moment. A company like Land Rover Jaguar, so for every Jag they sell, as I mentioned, it's the success of those cars is really not that high, especially here in North America. They get the carbon offset for all the big gas guzzling Land Rovers and Range Rovers they sell. Just something to keep in mind. By the way, by 2024, there will be one full electric Land Rover for sale. And then the other thing was the Chevy Bolt was announced yesterday. They dropped it on a Sunday. So the Bolt price is going down by about $5,000. The range remains the same. New design on the outside and inside. It's basically a warmed over version of what they have, but they have changed the design on the outside and an improved interior. Now, these are Canadian prices. They're even less in the United States. So a Chevy Bolt now with a range of 417 kilometers, which is quite a lot, is just $38,000. Now think about this in Quebec. I believe the rebates, if you add the federal and provincial rebates, are $13,000. Anybody from Quebec can refresh my memory on that. Well, that brings the price of this car down to around $25,000. Now that is incredible. Plus, they also have the Chevy Bolt electric utility vehicle, which basically is the same platform. They just put a bigger cab on top of it to make it more like a utility. That is just $2,000 more, and the range on that one is 402 kilometers. So Chevrolet and General Motors is throwing down the gauntlet to a mainline electric car starting under $40,000 before rebates. Add in the rebates. Anywhere in Canada, it's $5,000 federally. So that brings the price down to 33 grand. That's a hell of a lot of car for the money. All right, let's get into some pictures. The first one comes from, this is Mr. Reddy. Just picked up his brand new Kia Sorento SX. Says he's just got, I think, one kid, so don't need to get the Telluride just yet. And the next one is Andrew, who sent a picture of his BMW 540. Nice looking car, but also he's into watches. And here is his latest pickup. That is a Rolex Sea Dweller, the 43 millimeter, the new one. Nice looking watch. And we have one more. Oh, yeah. So for the 150,000 sub celebration, I agreed to eat avocado toast because I think avocados are like just basically green slime. It's not my thing. Andrea had made it up nice, though. She put lots of lime on it, and it actually wasn't so bad. But Andrew and I were talking, and oh, come in, Jack. Is it beer o'clock?
It is.
Oh, have a seat. Have a seat. So, what sport are we going to talk about?
Basketball.
What's the news?
The Phoenix Suns are second in the power rankings, according to Bleacher Report.
And where's your son's shirt?
Upstairs.
Now, that's your team?
Yeah.
Then what's your second team?
The Raptors, but they're a bit dodgy right now, just a little bit. So
The Suns going to go all the way?
if they can get through the Lakers, that's a bit of a stretch, though. But I'm just hoping they can make the playoffs because they haven't.
Who's going to win in the North Division in the NHL?
I still think the Leafs.
Okay.
But it could be the Canadiens. It's like a 50-50, I think.
All right. It's not going to be Canucks.
They could make the playoffs, though. I think they could turn it around.
The Canucks?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Well, they
they
play
have
tonight, don't they?
I think so. The Canadiens and the Leafs are a lock, I think.
All right.
And then you're really just fighting between the Jets, the Flames, and the Oilers.
Thanks, Jack.
You're
a good man. You're a good man.
Yeah.
I think. I get it. Your people are stacking up their questions. Okay, so Jack's a good kid. Look at that. Brings me a beautiful Pilsner. Someone just posted Leafs winning the cup. Well, you know what? I grew up in Toronto. How many times they had the parade route laid out, and that never happened. So we were joking about the avocado toast, and then I was going back with huge haggis. I said maybe I'll get Andrea to eat haggis if we get to 160,000 subs. So Nate sent a picture of this Scottish haggis in a can. I don't think a haggis should be in a can. And he said he'll even pay for postage if Andrea would eat haggis. And when I looked at this, it says Scottish haggis. And at the bottom, it says product of USA. That's no right, Jimmy. That's no right at all. All right. So we got our pictures done. We got our news out of the way. Now we get to the questions. All right. Let's get into it. Hey, John is here. Nice to see you, John. My wife, she's got a 15 Optima, owes just over 6K, only 55,000 kilometers, 2 years to pay. I would guess it's best to trade and get something better. I don't know, man. A 15 Optima with 55,000 kilometers, my best advice is just keep the damn thing. I mean, you only owe $6,000 on it. The cheapest car often is the one you have. If you've got the itch, oh, here he is with another one. John's got another follow-up. Which small SUV would suggest for her? She does not care about performance. What about the Crosstrek with the new 2.5-liter engine? That's a nice little car. I think she would like that. Big windows, easy to see out of, not a bad, and not expensive, not crazy expensive. You can get that outdoor model for 30 grand if you're thinking. Take her for a ride in one of those. What new car isn't getting the praise it deserves? Thanks for spending family with us. Is spending Family Day with us as well. Yeah, it is Family Day for parts of the country. In Manitoba, I think it's Louis Riel Day. I'm not sure. What do they call Family Day in Eastern Canada, like in the Atlantic provinces? Is anybody here from the Atlantic provinces? Could let us know what they call it. So what car isn't getting the praise that it deserves? I would suggest that it's the Nissan Sentra. Was the one of the cars that really surprised me last year. Mac is asking, when you pick up a test car, the manufacturers do they go to one location or many locations? Well, there is one service here in Vancouver that has about 3 or 4 different brands. So it's easy to just sort of book back to back to back. So it's nice when they have a central location. Toyota has a separate location. Honda has a separate location. General Motors has a separate location. There's one central location for Nissan, Infiniti, Genesis, Hyundai, and Mazda, all in one location. So it depends. Ford is a separate supplier. It all depends. Hey, Zach, would you buy a 2021 4Runner? Do you think it's worth waiting for the new full-size Bronco? Put it this way, there is never a bad time to buy a 4Runner. The resale value on Toyota 4Runners is absolutely astronomical. So there is no bad bet. If you wanted to hedge your bets, maybe take a short-term lease, maybe a 2-year lease, and then you have the option to buy it out, maybe even buy it and resell it, because often the value of it in the market is higher than the buyout of the lease. So these vehicles hold their value incredibly well. There eventually one day will be a new 4Runner, probably going to have some new technology. The existing 4Runner is always going to be desirable. A neighbor of mine down the street has got one that's like 25 years old. Every single time he goes and fills up for gas, people are offering to buy it from him. Now, granted, it's older, but the thing looks like it's brand new. So a 4Runner is a good bet. The new Bronco, yeah, that looks great, but it's not a 4Runner. Hey, Zach, what coupe convertible represents the best combination of sportiness and luxury at a price no higher than $80,000 US? I would suggest that the BMW Z4, if you're American, the Z4, if you're looking for a convertible. Also, for sportiness and luxury, what about an E-Class or a C-Class Mercedes-Benz? You know, they're nice cars. Oh, you know what? Now that I think of it, the 4 Series BMW. If you can hear, okay, I just nailed it. The 4 Series BMW with the M440 with the inline 6-cylinder engine. So that has lots of power, a fantastic engine, and is certainly going to be a nice combination of luxury and comfort. So yeah, for 80,000, you're going to get one of those, no problem. An E-Class Mercedes is another good choice. Excuse me. Barrick is here. Hey Zach, in the market for full size pickup, F-150 Limited, Toyota Tundra TRD Pro, both V8s with crew cab. Between those two, which is the better option in your opinion? The only problem with the Toyota truck along with the Nissan truck is that they just have limited availability. So with Ford, Ram, and General Motors, Chevrolet, or GMC, there were so many options. You don't have to be locked into just one engine. Especially with the F-150, you can go 2.7 liter EcoBoost, you can go 3 liter EcoBoost, 3.5 liter EcoBoost, 5 liter naturally aspirated V8. You can get the higher output V8 engine, you can get a V6. There's lots of different options available. But if you're looking at the V8, I would say the brand new F-150 is probably a better buy. The favorite part of my Mondays. Hi, Zach. Well, that's very nice of you to say. All right. What else have we got here? HA is saying, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say Mazdas are the best. Loving my new Mazda 3 Sport. Well, good for you. They do make great products. They really do. Harley Chow, any news on Corolla Cross coming to Canada? No, I have something that's coming up on the 23rd. I think it's about a week from now. Toyota Canada is doing a virtual town hall dinner with the president of Toyota Canada, Larry Hutchison, and all the other executives at Toyota. So typically, we would go to the Toronto Auto Show, the Canadian Auto Show, and they would have a big dinner and they would do a presentation outlining all kinds of things that are to come for Lexus and Toyota throughout the year. So in a week from now, I'll be taking part in that event. And they do they don't tell you a whole lot, but they do give you insights as to what is going to be happening at Toyota and Lexus over the next little while. There is not any news on the Corolla Cross. A good looking product. I wish we could just say yeah, but I would suspect that there's room in the market for yet another crossover vehicle. So it would make sense if it's available to have it come into the marketplace. Abe is here with a super chat. Thoughts on new C-Class coming out in 2 weeks? With the price incentive on the current models, would a current C43 be a better buy than a new C300? Well, this is exactly why you need to go to Car Cost Canada and sign up using the promo code MOTORMOUTH. And when you do that, you become an expert member and it unlocks more searches for you. So you might know there's some incentives and deals on a current C-Class, but when you go to Car Cost Canada, it's going to lay it all out. There's going to be all kinds of incentives, maybe some hidden rebates or secret interest rates that is not really public knowledge, and it's all at Car Cost Canada. So you have to really ask yourself, are you motivated by having the newest and the latest, which will be the new C-Class, or are you quite happy waking up every morning knowing you got a good deal on your current car? And I would agree with you. The C43 is a fantastic car. The only thing I would suggest, the difference between the C43 and the C300 is the C43 has quite a sharp suspension. And depending on where you live, if the roads are bumpy, if you live somewhere with a lot of potholes, a C43 can feel at times a little bit crashy over bumps. But, the great news is you can take one out for a test drive right now. So go online, sign up, use the promo code MOTORMOUTH, become an expert member, and see what the deals are. Because, the new Mercedes-Benz that's going to be released soon is going to be new, right? So that is a benefit. You're going to get the benefit of the newest, latest technology. But as I mentioned, you have to ask yourself, are you motivated by price or by features? And you have to ask yourself that. Hey, Zach, what are your thoughts on the Toyota Supra? Thinking of trading my 435 for it. Don't trade the 435 for that. That's a great car. Keep the 435. Now that they've seen the GV70, GV80 kind of looks outdated. Well, one of the issues that you have with cars that are kind of over-styled, we have the Hyundai Elantra this week, and in my opinion, it's a bit too busy, and it's trying a bit too hard. I really truly believe that cars that are really busy and trying too hard, they don't age well. They look really of the moment, right? So you look back at, say, the GV80, for example, and go, that was a real 2020 kind of time, where a lot of brands have some classic timeless designs. To their credit and to their demise, BMW doesn't really move their design along too much. The new 4 Series is the exception, but there you go. Hey, Zach, I know you drove the Q50 in Toronto. Do you think, purely from a handling perspective, it handles as well as the German rivals? Any plans to review one? It is a very nice car. I had it for a couple of days while we were shooting a segment in Ontario, and I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it, because it'd been quite a few years since I'd driven one. It handles very well. I think it's a really, considering the price, I mean, this thing is always on sale. Like, same thing again. Sign up at Car Cost Canada. I mean, it's always got some kind of rebate on it. Any plans to review one? No. And I'll tell you why. Because it won't get any views. I mean, I can spend a whole bunch of work reviewing one or another car that's going to get way more views. Which one would you choose? The car is really quite dated, but actually still performs quite well. I hear they're already offering big discounts in Europe on the Mark 8 GTI already. Really? I wonder what that is. Maybe it's the new interior, with no switches. I think this is a major bugaboo for a lot of brands. Like, for example, with the GTI not having a volume knob, I mean, it's just such a basic thing. If that is one of the issues with it, then you might see them change it quickly. Evan Katz, instead of a subscriber sick, how about an avocado sip? All the best, Zach. No, I'll stick with the beer. And Evan, hope you're well in New York. That's way better. You guys getting a taste of Eastern Canada cold weather this past week? Yeah, it wasn't too bad. The temperature was just below the freezing mark during the day, and at night it got a little cold. I think the coldest night we had was around -8 Celsius. Overnight, and we had snow on the weekend. You might have seen Andrea's Instagram pictures with the Elantra in the snow, but here we are. It's Monday and it's already melting away. Do pedestrian detection systems work? Yes, these systems do work, and I'm sure they're going to save quite a few lives and more fender benders. There are good systems. Hey, Zach. Why do some manufacturers have better quality than others? Why do Toyota, Hondas, and Subarus last for 20 years or more, but German cars don't? Well, I would disagree with you about German cars. I own plenty of German cars, and I've owned older German cars, and it all comes down to maintenance. If you maintain them, they will run just like anything indefinitely. I would suggest that a lot of times with it's the part suppliers and the quality control of the parts suppliers is a big deal. You got to remember, a car is a cumulative effort. When you make a car, you're taking parts from all of these different part suppliers. One might be the seats, another might be the radio, another might be the transmission. And they bring it all together and assemble it at the Toyota or Honda factory or the GM factory or whatever it is. But a car is just really a cumulative effort. So if you have part suppliers that are not doing a good job with quality control, well, that can come and bite you in the ass, right? Now, the parts are built to a manufacturer's specification, but I think that some brands do a better job of insisting on a certain specification for quality control, and I think that's why they do better. Hey, Zach, we all know that Honda's Econ mode adjusts the automatic transmission shift points to save fuel. How would this help on my manual Civic when I'm doing the shifting? That's a good point. What other throttle response is one. So throttle response is definitely, you have to put more throttle in to get the engine to respond. So there's the less you're putting effort in to put the pedal down, you're using less fuel. It just sort of smooths it all out. You'll probably notice that the throttle response is a little bit sloppier when you have it in the econ mode. But you're right. That's one main reason. What other way would they do it? It's mostly transmission. So yeah, you're probably right. Hey Zach, is it true Subaru customers finance their car through Toyota Canada? That is true. So what they call is their captive finance arm. Not very many companies actually have their own in-house financing. So Subaru, for example, uses Toyota financing. Some brands use banks. Some big brands have their own captive finance arm. So that is absolutely true. Hey Zach, is there a 2022 Honda CR-V? What about hybrid? When will it arrive in Canada? Well, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. Nothing has been made official, but yes, there's going to be first a new Civic that's going to be arriving this summer, and you can bet there's going to be a new CR-V hot on its heels, probably later in this year, early next year. But there you go. We'll have to wait and see. No one knows until it's been made official. This is the one we said earlier, Leafs winning the Cup. Yeah, I grew up in Toronto. There's many times when they thought they were going to win it, and it never happened. Hey Zach, what do you think of the 2021 Kona preferred versus the other cars that it competes with? I'm not really too dialed in on what the preferred is. What does that mean? If you could elaborate. I'm not exactly sure what preferred means. I read an article about the all-new read an article about how all those electric cars in Norway overwhelmed their electricity grid during a cold snap. Well, I'm not sure if you now that was just a few days before the Super Bowl. So David Booth wrote that article for Driving or the National Post. I'm not sure where you saw it, but yeah, that's a true story. They had peak energy use. Also, it was quite a cold snap in Norway. Of course, it's a Scandinavian country, but this cold Arctic air is being pushing out not only through North America, but through Europe as well. Now in Texas, as early as this morning, they had rolling blackouts to conserve power because the temperature was below the freezing mark in Texas. That doesn't happen very often. So this cold Arctic blast has gone all the way down into the southern United States. So there you have cold air affecting an area, and they're having to have rolling blackouts. Well, what does that mean if you had everybody shifting over and using electric vehicles? Is the electric grid going to be able to sustain that? Now, Norway is different because they do spill water, mostly hydroelectric for their energy. They make electricity, which is green, which is great, same as we have here in British Columbia and in the province of Quebec. So this is the most efficient way to make electricity, but when you have peak demand, that can be a problem. Norway is typically an energy exporter, not only of gas and oil, but of electricity as well. Have you heard any news on the remodeled CX-9? No, I haven't heard anything about it. You got to remember, a lot of this stuff is just speculation until you actually hear verification. It's easy to say these things, but we'll have to wait and see. I liked your Volvo XC40 review, and I'm looking forward to the Bolt EV and EUV reviews. With practice, I think you can get used to one-pedal driving. So I'm not sure if you watched. We did the XC40 recharge, and when you lift off the throttle, the regen, you get this sort of lurching back and forth. So I agree with you. When you're driving, there's not an issue using this Regen 1 brake thing. It's the passenger. And the analogy I had when I did the video is if you've ever driven manual and you wonder why everybody's head bobs back and forth when you change your gears, but you're like, well, I don't do that, but you're driving because you're ready for it and your body's ready for it. It's the same thing with this regen braking. When the driver lifts off the throttle and all of a sudden the car starts to decelerate, the passengers in the car are not ready for it. The driver knows it's going to happen, and that's where you get this motion sickness feeling. And I've experienced it in several electric cars, not just the Volvo. It happened with the Taycan. It's something that can happen. Who has the safest car on the market? Well, I thought I turned you off. Safest car in the market. There used to be brand like Volvo that was their hallmark was safety, right? They built the brand around safety, but a lot of companies have really improved their safety. Subaru is one that gets very, very good safety ratings, wins all kinds of awards for their safety. All brands are capable of building very safe vehicles, and you've got to remember a lot of the technology that was developed by some brands is now adopted by all brands, whether it's anti-lock brakes, traction control, airbags, crumple zones, all of the stuff that goes into a modern car is now shared throughout the industry. So all brands are capable of making very safe cars. Volvo is one that scores very highly. Subaru is another. There are quite a few. You can go to safecar.gov, which is the U.S. Crash test site, and you can look up the cars yourself. What can you tell me about the Jeep Wrangler safety? Well, this is an interesting follow-up. Well, it's a body-on-frame truck meant for off-roading. So because you can take the doors and the roof off, there's no side door or curtain airbags. That affects it. Now, they got really hit with the safety score because they didn't have forward collision warning and autonomous braking and all that stuff. Certain models of Jeep now you can get that, and those things definitely help in certain situations. But it's just the function of the vehicle and the design, with being able to take the roof and the doors off. It's not going to score as highly as a vehicle that has integrated doors and a roof and airbags all around you. That's one of the reasons why. Okay, John's answering family. It's called Family Day in New Brunswick, so there you go. And it's Heritage Day in Nova Scotia. All right. And it's Riel Day in Manitoba. My buddy Willie Williamson says it is. Do you think you use Porsche Macan S as a good SUV replacement for a VW GTI? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you want to make sure it is a good used one. It's being maintained and you can get an inspection done on it. Now, it's an SUV. It's not going to drive like a little hatchback car, but it definitely feels more polished and upscale and planted. And the benefit you have, of course, is all-wheel drive versus just a front driver for the GTI. Yeah, it's a very sporty platform inherently by its size and shape. It's a really good product. If you don't need the back seat, and that's what I suggest, if you need more room, Cayenne is a better option, but the Macan S is really wonderful. The CX-30 looks amazing. Did you notice anything about the rear suspension as it isn't independent? It drives me nuts that there is a little rear seat space in that car. The CX-5 is too big. Yeah, well, it really comes down to what you need. If you need more space in the back seat, this isn't the car for you. And no, I didn't notice anything about the lack of independent rear suspension. In fact, this new setup that is done by Mazda for the CX-30 and the Mazda 3. It actually is very stable. In the Mazda 3 execution, the back almost acts like, it's almost like a tripod. You know, where the back wheels are wide and stable, and it's the front that kind of does the pivoting and the turning. The back wheels really make it feel stable. So I don't find it an issue at all. So yeah, I mean, if you need the bigger back seat, it's obviously not the utility for you. Okay, Josh is back. Hey, Zach. So my bro has chosen a car, 2021 Hyundai Kona, second trim. We got a great deal, 75 months for 75M for an off-island dealer versus a Montreal dealer. Car surprised me and seems to be good mid of all-wheel drive and value. Josh, man, you got to write it out better for me. 75M for an off-island dealer. Oh, okay. Off-island meaning the island of Montreal. See, when you say island, I think Vancouver Island. Of course, you live in Montreal. So, off-island dealer versus a Montreal dealer. Car surprised me. It's a great car. The Kona has been an absolute smash success for Hyundai. It's just a great product, great size, wonderful handling. If you can get the 1.6 liter turbo, it's a great little performer. And there you go. So now I decoded what you said there. In most of the country, today is Family Day. In Quebec, it's Monday. That's funny. Most of the country, it's Family Day. In Quebec, it's just Monday. Now that's funny. Evan is saying I'm out of sync. This is a YouTube issue. It is not me. I am sending the signal out, and YouTube does this. I apologize. How is the resale value of the Mazda CX-5 normal 2.5 engine, not the turbo? So what you want to do is go to CanadianBlackBook.com, and you want to look up the forecasted. You can do a projection of the value, and you can see for yourself what the professionals, the people that actually help companies with their valuations for leasing, predict the value will be, and you can then compare it to other products. So you could type in a RAV4, you could do any number of utilities and compare it to that vehicle, and you'll see where the depreciation is. So go to CanadianBlackBook.com, and then you go into the either it's future value or something like that. You'll see it on there. I'd love to see the Nissan Xterra make a comeback. Yeah, with the new Frontier, there was a lot of speculation, and I don't think it's going to happen. So let's read Josh's second attempt here. So my brother chose a first car, a Hyundai Kona second trim, and got a great deal. I was surprised since it's a cheap car. It handles well, has all-wheel drive, standard, and many other great features. Now that, Josh, is better. Thank you, thank you. Hey, Zach, what do you think about the new Civic versus the new Elantra? Well, it's interesting because we have our Civic versus the Corolla hatchback comparison that's going to show up tomorrow. We don't have the details on the new Civic yet. So it would be easy for me to tell you, oh yeah, I just be making it up. The details on the new Civic have not been revealed. All we have seen are the looks of it, what it looks like, the concept. So we know what the Civic's going to look like. Are they going to make any wholesale changes to the engine and transmission and the drivetrain? I suspect not, but I could be wrong. And there you go. We'll have to wait and see. Can soft top convertibles go through a gas station car wash regularly? Also, nobody can tell me how to clean a matte paint car. I'm talking the Germans for both. You can take a soft top through a car wash, but probably not the best thing to do. Hand wash would probably be better, but yeah, I've done it. What are the disadvantages of torsion beam suspension? I heard many car journalists talk about it as a negative thing. Okay, so what you have is it's called a torsion beam, a twist beam, a trailing arm, a solid rear axle. So both of the wheels are connected by one beam, okay? And the suspension components move sort of together at the back. And what can happen is you go over a bump, the whole back suspension can hop or jump. And it doesn't give you traditionally a very good dynamic in handling. So the whole thing is connected, and when one wheel goes up, the other one kind of pivots like this. With independent suspension, you have each wheel can pivot separately. So left and right wheel can move up and down. It has given you traditionally a more planted feel, better turning ability, and more sort of what's the word I'm looking for? More predictable handling in extreme maneuvers, okay? So hard cornering, hard braking, emergency lane changes, those sorts of things. Now, the new breed of this trailing arm torsion beam design has been vastly improved. The new Jetta has it, and it's really quite good. You see an improvement also with the Mazda 3, and I would say that they did a very good job with it. I would still prefer an independent rear suspension ultimately, but the new batch of some of them anyway have greatly improved. So sometimes you can get what's called axle hops over bumps, isn't as precise, doesn't give you that real sure-footed feel in emergency situations, and historically has been better. But the new ones are definitely improved. When will we see the ID4 in Canada? I smell success. ID4 is set to arrive this summer. That's all we're getting is a vague this summer. So it's not that far away, and we just have to wait a little longer. Now, they haven't priced it. I suspect with Chevrolet throwing down the price of the new Bolt down to $38,000, there's going to be a lot of car companies having to sharpen their pencils when it comes to EVs. I mean, the Chevy Bolt now, if you're buying a hatchback city runabout electric car, I mean, it is the one now to go to. I liked it anyway. A lot of people asked me which one I liked, and I thought the Bolt was already a strong contender. Now with this price change, the Leaf's going to look out of place. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. So Volkswagen has not announced the price of the ID4. Maybe they're going to have to sharpen their pencil. Hi, Zach. Why do you think Nissan never changes the design of their cars often? I would disagree with that. They have actually, if you look at, say, a car like the Altima, they've changed the design several times. I wouldn't agree with that. Oh, here's Huge Haggis, who suggested he would send his canned haggis to us here on the West Coast. With Stellantis seeming to put the brakes on bringing Peugeot over and keeping Chrysler alive, do you think we may get rebadged Peugeots? I don't know. I just think that with the lack of success that FCA has had, or Stellantis, with Fiat and with Alfa Romeo, I just do not see any appetite for bringing Peugeots into the country. And so I don't know if that is official, but if they made that decision to not bring those cars, I think that is a good choice. Will there be platform sharing? Yeah, there will be. That's the whole point of the exercise. That's why they're doing it. They're doing this whole thing to share the cost. So you can bet they're going to do that. Super chat. Hey, Zach, can you discuss briefly the meaning of flat six? I hear quite a bit when cars are reviewed. Thanks and be safe. Okay, well, this is a very good question. So a flat six engine is horizontally opposed. So let's go back to a car that everybody knows, the good old Volkswagen Beetle. So the Beetle, instead of having a four-cylinder where all the pistons go up and down in a line, they took two of the pistons and put them on their side, and took the other two and put them on their side. So the pistons went side to side instead of up and down. Okay, so that is a flat four engine. Then you get the Porsche version of it, and instead of it being a V6 or an inline six, it's actually a flat six. Okay, so and that's also called a boxer engine. So Subaru uses a flat four. So it's a boxer engine, same thing. It's called horizontally opposed. All right. So yeah, instead of the pistons going up and down, they go back and forth like this. So Subaru uses horizontally opposed engines. Volkswagen did for many, many years in its air-cooled cars. Porsche still does in the 911 and the Boxster Cayman line. And those are six cylinders, and that's why they're called a flat six. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, one advantage of an inline six-cylinder, so BMW has retained the inline six-cylinder, and in my opinion, some of the best engines are the M340 or the 440, the inline six-cylinder engines, and you get them in the SUVs as well. So the pistons are going up and down in a row instead of in a V. Okay, a V6, the pistons go this way, and an inline six, the pistons go up and down this way. So this design of having one cylinder after the other is inherently better for balancing the engine, for vibration. And then if there's no vibration, the flywheel can spin and the pistons go up and down freer. And that's one of the best designs, is an inline six-cylinder. Now we'll throw one more in there, and that is the VR6. Okay, so they have a narrow angle V, and the pistons actually overlap. So it's not a true V like this, it's a V like this. So they're V, but they kind of overlap. That's a VR6 engine. That's the Volkswagen engine. Does that make any sense? It's hard to do like this. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm looking this way. There you go. And you can't go wrong with a flat six, especially if it's got a Porsche badge on it. Huge Haggis got that one done. That's a good question. Have you ever had a test car break down on you? No, I've never had a car break down on me. I have had a. This was years ago when I first started reviewing cars in the 90s. I picked up a General Motors. It was a rebadged Opel. I'm trying to remember what the hell an Optima. You guys could look it up quickly. Was there a Pontiac Optima that was based on an Opel? Somebody could look it up right now. I believe that was the car, and it had the heat. The heat. You would have these little things that you would slide across like this, back and forth. You'd put it to the right to get hot. You'd put it to the left to get cold, and then you'd put it to the right to get the defroster, to the left to go down to your feet, like a really basic car. So it was on the cold, and I slid it over to get the hot, and the thing just snapped off of my hand. So I had no heat. So that one went back. But yeah, cars that just won't start, and I mean, there might have been one or two that we had some quirks with, sometimes electronics, but for the most part, they're pretty good. So when the car manufacturers get a car to put out onto the press fleet, they do what they call miling them up, okay? So they don't just take a brand new car and say, here you go, it's got 30 kilometers on the odometer. They mile them up to about 500 kilometers, and then they make sure there's no squeaks, no rattles, no leaks, the car's working fine. So yeah, that's how they do it. RAV4 versus Nissan Rogue 2021. Which best buy? Entry trim. I would go and drive both of them and see which one you like. I was really surprised by the new Rogue. I thought they did a fantastic job. But the Toyota RAV4, it's like, I call it the bank of Toyota. It's the money in, money out thing about the RAV4. It's just going to deliver. The one thing you will notice, I think, if you do a comparison, and I encourage you to do it, is I bet you're going to find the new Rogue quieter. The RAV4, the regular gas version, is a great product. It'll do everything totally fine, but it is a bit noisy. So if that's a concern, drive them both and see which one you think. What are your thoughts on the Type S and the 2022 MDX? And name some direct competitors. Thank you. Well, I would suggest that the MDX with the Type S with the 355 horsepower is going to be basically a real budget version of what Genesis is doing with the GV80. Like, you think about the GV80 with 3 rows of seats in their top trim is $85,000 in the Canadian market. That's about $20,000 more than an MDX top trim. We don't know the pricing of the Type S yet. It's going to be more expensive. I would say it's probably going to be about $5,000 more. So it's still going to be $15,000 less. Now, it's not a Genesis. It's not going to have the same interior as that, but that's a hell of a lot of product for the money in comparison. We'll have to wait until we get a chance to drive it, though. Oh, by the way, I am scheduled to get it in the middle of March, so just a month away. I'm with you in the same boat. Avocado is not something that can be eaten. But it is seasoned. It is really delicious. In question, okay, I'm not sure. 2022 G70 Stinger or 2021 CT4V. I know you have driven all. Okay, so yeah, avocado any time of the year is not good, but that's just me. The 2022 G70, we don't know what it's going to be like. I mean, they're going to restyle the car. Not sure what other mechanical changes they're going to make to it, but there is a new one coming. The Stinger is, there's supposed to be a facelift on that, but we haven't seen it yet. And the CT4V is a hell of a lot of value. So I still think there's a few question marks out there, most notably the G70 and when we get our hands on it. It's going to be, I think, arriving later this year. The CT4V was actually quite a nice car. Any idea when the Santa Fe Hybrid will be available? Your thoughts on the vehicle? Haven't driven the new Santa Fe yet. Still waiting for it to arrive. I believe we're going to see the hybrid version later in the year. They've already announced the pricing of it, and they've announced that it is coming. We're just going to have to wait. So, yeah, that's all I can tell you about it. Thinking about buying an '06 Subaru Baja. Any thoughts on this Subaru Outback-based vehicle? Well, there was a couple of doors down. We have a special needs neighbor, and he needs a night nurse to sleep with him or sleep in the room with him every night. He's a special case. But the night nurse that came and lived with this family for several years had a Baja, and it was parked in front of our house regularly. And I kept on looking at it thinking, what the hell? I would suggest, if you can find one that's in really good shape, it will be a collectible. Anything that's weird and quirky like that, as the years go by, there's always going to be somebody that wants a... Okay, so if you don't know what a Baja is, it's basically, it's a Subaru Ute. So it's got the Outback front with a little pickup truck bed in the back. And yeah, immensely popular in the Australian market. They sold them here, and there weren't many takers, obviously. It's like the Subaru version of the El Camino. But I would suggest that a quirky, fun car like that will always have a market. So, yeah. So I always remember seeing it parked in front of our house. Is the current Lexus NX dated? Will the turbo hold up as long as 10 years? It should. I mean, the engine, I don't think I'd have a worry with that. But the Lexus NX is dated, but it's very comfortable. And it's nicely put together. And, yeah, I mean, it is a car. So same thing again. Are you motivated by driving the newest and the latest? Or are you motivated about getting a deal? So there is going to be a new NX coming. And it's going to be made in Canada now, on the same line as the RAV4. It's going to a new platform, the same platform as the RAV4 on the Toyota Global platform. And so we're going to get a new one. So the current one, it's fine. It does a good job. It is looking, it's showing its age, especially on the interior. But yeah, it's a car that you can buy and drive and not worry about at all. Love the videos with you and Andrea. Any news or thoughts on the TLX Type S, or when we should be getting one to review? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. We're still waiting on it. When we get it, we will let you know. Another super chat from Abe. Thoughts on used out of warranty Mercedes cars? I'm thinking of 2015 CLS. 50 to 70,000 K on it. A bad idea. Too unreliable, expensive maintenance. Yes, that is a highly maintenance heavy car. Now, you can get a warranty. You can buy a warranty if you're really worried about it. That's not a lot of miles on it, and you can get it inspected. But I don't know your financial situation, Abe. If you can afford to repair it, it might be worth a shot, but you better get a good deal on it. Big, expensive car, lots of technology in there. Take it to an independent Mercedes mechanic and have it inspected, and ask them what they think of it. I mean, I can only give you, what I think of the car, but they might have seen problems with it and other things to look out for. But if you are worried about it, you can get a warranty for it. Ask whoever's selling it if they'll, get warranty, and you can get it. I just got to go back here, find out where I was. Where was I? Jacques, where were you? Here we are. Sebastian, greetings from Surrey. Ah, yes, the Fraser Valley. What wagon would you recommend for a new driver? 3 rules: manual, fast, and older than 10 years. What wagon would you recommend for a new driver? It's got to be manual, fast, and older than 10 years. I don't know. I mean, just trying to think of what was available 10 years ago. You're probably looking at, a 3 Series would be where I would probably start. But fast? Fast and manual and older than 10 years. I got to remember the manual part is the tricky one. Because if you just wanted a fast wagon, I would just say get an E63 Mercedes-Benz, but not manual. I would probably say the 3 Series. Or maybe one of the high-performance Volvos, if they were available with a manual transmission. Any recommendation for a chip protection plastic wrapping? Yeah, well, there are lots of shops where you live. You can look it up. 3M protective film is, sort of an industry standard. There are different sort of companies that supply this kind of stuff. I would just go into, an auto detailing online and look in your area. Look up plastic wrap for cars. There's going to be lots of companies that supply it. Now, it depends how far you go. If you're just going to do the leading edges that can get chipped, that's one thing. A lot of people will do lower parts that can get chipped. Some people wrap the whole car. It really comes down to how much you want to spend. But there's lots of different companies, lots of different products. 3M is kind of one that a lot of people know. But, do some shopping where you are. Just type in auto detailing shop, protective film, and you'll get a lot of results where you live. So back to this I brought up earlier. Jag announced they're going all electric by 2025. What other makers do you think will go all EV next? Volvo? Well, Volvo has said they're going all electric, but there was kind of a bit misleading because also included mild hybrids. So if you missed it at the beginning, I said that I think that the electric for Jag is a way for them to continue to make the high horsepower gas guzzling Range Rovers and sell those and offset it with the carbon credits from selling sort of low volume cars for Jaguar, which is unfortunately the case for them. I'm not sure the sales around the world, but here in Canada, Jag sales are not good at all. So it's not such a bad idea. I like the Lincoln MKC Corsair, but the EcoBoost engine worries me. The turbo and the direct injection just seems to be a problem with higher mileage cars. Well, David, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Buy one that doesn't have direct injection and turbocharged. Just get a car with a V6. Hello, dear Zach. I have a question. How do you compare Subaru Impreza STI versus Lancer Evo? Greetings from Lima, Peru. Well, we haven't had a Lancer Evo in the market here for several years. So and you know what? I've never driven a Lancer Evo, so I'm not equipped to answer that. For the record, Toyota owns 20% of Subaru. Yes, Toyota owns a big chunk of Subaru, but what we were talking about earlier was the financing, and that is done in the Canadian market through Toyota Canada. Chris Harris tweeted he's never seen a new performance car so heavily discounted so early in its life cycle as the new GTI. Well, that's interesting. I think Volkswagen is probably, it's not a company that changes direction quickly at all when it comes to design. They just are stubborn. Now, if this thing is really suffering because of a few key features, for me, I would suspect it's the lack of switches and things on the interior, or the sort of cheap looking interior, that they can address fairly quickly, but it won't be like 1 or 2 years. So we'll have to wait and see. Thoughts on an 18 SQ8 for reliability as a daily family hauler? Well, an 18 SQ5 would still be available under warranty. It should still be under warranty and would still qualify for a certified pre-owned warranty. So if you are worried about it, look for an 18 that is offered with a certified pre-owned warranty. Well, that will get you to 6 years from the date it went into service and get you some comfort there. It is a good car. I think the Audi SQ5 is a great all-rounder. 356 or 365. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head the horsepower on it. It's a great product. And it is a good family vehicle. And yeah, just look into getting it under a longer warranty than the original warranty. And you can get it from the dealer. Tell your Honda connections to bring back the Element. Stick options as well. Cheers from Montreal. I don't think they're going to listen to me. But there's a perfect example of a product that they just let dwindle. And the people that had Honda Elements absolutely love them. Do you know who a big taker of Honda Elements? Dog owners. They could put their dog in the back, take the dog to the beach. They didn't worry about it. They were available, the manual transmission. It wasn't everything exciting to drive, but it sure, delivered the goods every day and was a good practical vehicle. Paul is asking, do you feel pressure from manufacturers to keep your reviews positive and less critical of the products? I have never, not once, in the almost 30 years that I've been doing this job, that I've ever had a manufacturer call me out for saying, for something that I said. I've had a dealer do it, but I don't listen to dealers. The manufacturer, no, I've never had one ever say, well, Zach, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. But then I think I'm fair. So I will say, in my opinion, I don't like this, or I didn't find these seats comfortable. It's something you should pay attention to. So, no, never had an issue. Dave Ridgway, do you have a recommended pickup truck for average people who don't tow and aren't contractors? What would you recommend? I would just get a Toyota Tacoma. If you're not worried about towing, I'm not sure how big the bed you need. If you're looking at that mid-size class, there can never go wrong with a Toyota Tacoma. As the earlier conversation, you can never go wrong with a Toyota 4Runner. The Toyota Tacoma is money in the bank. You buy it, you drive it, you sell it, you get a big chunk of that money back. Now you go out and start looking for a used Toyota Tacoma, and you will learn pretty quickly that these things hold their value. But if you're not worried about towing and hauling and all that kind of stuff, I have a Toyota Tacoma. That is my sort of beater vehicle that goes to Home Depot and the dump and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely perfect for that. Kevin's saying, when do you think of the Land Rover Defender? We're getting it in just a few short weeks. Hey, Zach, have car manufacturers caught up with new car production with ongoing COVID? Seems like dealers are still running low on new car inventory levels. So I'm not sure if you're aware of the latest problem. Because of COVID, the microchip manufacturers worldwide, there's a shortage of chips and cars are filled with processors, right? So there is a shortage, and the latest estimate I saw on CNBC was 675,000 vehicles so far worldwide have been affected, meaning they haven't been able to make the products. So some brands are really affected by this and can't get certain chips to go into their vehicles, and that's affecting production. We've seen closures of plants for a week at a time. Ford did that. We've seen some brands being able to secure their chip supply. Toyota is one of them. So yes, just as the market was sort of correcting itself from all the closures we had, now we have this second wave, pardon the pun, of the chip issue, which is limiting the supply of vehicles into the marketplace. So there's a bit of a bottleneck there, and that's one of the reasons why we're not seeing a lot of certain lines of cars available right now. What would be the best three-row SUV that can tow 5,000-pound travel trailer? Pretty much all mid-size SUVs nowadays, whether it's like the Pilot or the Atlas or the three-row gasoline versions, are all rated at 5,000 pounds. Okay, so all of those are the Telluride, the Palisade, all of them are going to be capable of towing up to 5,000 pounds. There are a few exceptions that have a higher tow rating. One is the Dodge Durango. Another is the Pathfinder. They're higher. And the Durango has the highest tow rating in the class if you equip it with the Hemi engine. Okay. Hey, what are your thoughts on the 2022 Infiniti QX60 ditching the CVT for the problematic ZF 9-speed? I wouldn't say it's problematic. This is the thing. The ZF transmission, the 9-speed came out, 5-6 years ago? Trust me. They have worked on it. It is not the same transmission they sold initially in products like the Pilot or over at FCA with the Cherokee. I mean, there have been improvements. Trust me on this. But I would say I'll take the 9-speed ZF unit in the new Pathfinder and the new QX60 over the old CVT for sure. So let's wait until we get a chance to drive it. But to say it's problematic, yes, the initial early versions of it were problematic. A lot of it came down to software and tuning and the calibration of the transmission by the manufacturer and not by ZF. I mean, ZF makes fantastic transmissions. So to say that it's still problematic, I think, is a bit of a broad brush. On PEI, it's Islander Day. Well, happy Islander Day. I'm glad you're doing well there. Boston Ma is saying, did you do the avocado toast in the cayenne? Yes, we did. All right, we're exactly 1 hour. I want to thank everybody that's been on here. Let me make sure I didn't miss another super chat. Nope. And if you didn't get your question answered, don't worry. I read them all. I do read them all. And thank you to everybody that comes on board and takes part. I do appreciate it. In Canada here, it is a holiday, and we will be back next Monday at the same time. So appreciate it. We'll speak to you then, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you next Monday.